Alright, so it says here that you're Yubnub's nephew who's come to stay with me until he gets back from his vacation. Well, I guess a little Ewok is some Ewok, huh? Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order, as best I know how. Folks, it's time to stay in those comic books, and we're going to go to a Star Wars Republic story, Honor and Duty, by Jon Ostrander. Now this was issues 46 through 48, it was a three-part series, and it was about Obi-Wan and Anakin protecting a senator from being assassinated. Now, to be honest, this story wasn't Jon Ostrander's best. In fact, I found it kind of boring. I didn't really like it as much. Also, this is significant because it was the first time the Star Wars ongoing series was retitled Republic, Star Wars Republic. Now, they didn't reboot it because this is back in the day where you just didn't reboot a series when you changed the title. You just kept the number and then changed the title and kept it going. I liked that, but I didn't like Star Wars Republic. I thought, why can't it just be an ongoing Star Wars comic book series? But for some reason, unbeknownst to me, they changed it to Star Wars Republic because we're going to get stories from the Republic, I guess, side of things. I just thought that retitlement in the middle of the series was kind of weird because the Star Wars ongoing series, in my opinion, could have been stories that happen in any time frame. I think that would have been refreshing, but oh well. They changed it over. This was the first Republic story that they had, and like I said, not really that much. Not really that interesting, and you could skip it because it doesn't really tie in to any of the other stories within the continuity. Now it's time to go back to Star Wars Tales 18, The Way of the Warrior. It was written by Peter Alianuis, and it happens 1 year before the events of the Clone Wars. It's a story about Jango and Boba Fett going on a mission. This Tales was not that bad. I remember thinking it was okay. I looked over it again before doing this review, and yeah, it's a pretty good story. If you like Jango Fett, then go for it. If you're a Boba Fett fan, this is young Boba, so I don't know how you would like it, but it is a very short story too. So not much happens outside of the just short, brief description I gave you. But it's pretty decent. Now, from there, you want to stay within Star Wars Tales, and this time Star Wars Tales 13. It's called Sith in the Shadow by Bob Harris. Now, this is a Mace Windu story where he goes to a planet with people who worship the Sith. He's with another Padawan there. And one thing that I realized about Star Wars Tales is they do put a lot of Mace Windu stories in there. Because if you think about it, Mace Windu has one novel in his name. He has a few comic books. But other than that, he's not really explored anywhere else. And as I'm going back through this whole series, Star Wars Tales did tell a lot of Mace Windu stories. So if you're a Mace Windu fan, then yeah, this would be for you. Now, what do I think of any of those stories, including this one? Sith in the Shadow was okay. Wasn't bad. To me, it wasn't good either. I don't know if that's because I'm not that interested in Mace Windu. Not to say he's not cool. I think he's cool. But any of the stories from Mace Windu, I just didn't like. It's like they struggled to find a good story for him, which is kind of odd because I think he could have been a really interesting character. I think he is an interesting character, but I think he could have been made more interesting in the EU. This is one of the rare occasions where I have to say that the EU dropped the ball on taking a character who didn't get much screen time in the regular movies and not really making him any more interesting. Because to be honest, from what I saw in the movies, what I read in the EU didn't really perk my interest. There are other characters that they pull General Madine, that he got his own EU story, and he was very interesting to read about. Admiral Akbar, as you know, has a little bit of a storyline in the post-Jedi books, and his character is really interesting. They have pulled characters from the movies and made them more interesting. But with Mace Windu, who's kind of a popular character, right? Forget that he was played by Samuel L. Jackson, but just in general, he's a very popular character, especially in 3, he gets the most screen time. But the EU, I felt, just didn't do him justice enough. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't have enough extra content to give him extra depth, which the EU did with a lot of their other characters. Anyway, folks, let me know in the comments what you think about Mace Windu in the expanded universe. Did they do a good job with him, or did they just not explore him enough? And I'll see you next week with another video.